We have Mr. Vishwanath Srikantaiah with us. I'll just ping him.
Yes.
Second.
Exneco is feeling honored to welcome Mr. Vishwanath Srikantaiah, a social activist, as the chief guest and keynote speaker of the summit. Vishwanath Srikantaiah is known as the Rain Man of Bangalore. He's famous for his exceptional knowledge of cities' weather patterns and monsoons. Vishwanath sir has spent over 60 years studying the city's weather and monsoon. His weather predictions and analysis are very accurate. Further, he is often consulted by the media, city authorities, and other organizations as well. So now let us know from him smart water infrastructure for future cities. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you,
Over to
Shrestha.
you. Yeah.
Thank you, Shrestha. Are you able to hear me, Shrestha?
Yes, sir.
And is my
Yes,
slide visible?
Yes, visible.
Yes, the slide is also visible.
Right, and it's moving also.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you to the previous speakers. Thanks to the organizers. And let me just sort of share my experience of working on water. And I've been told to talk about water in cities. So I'll start to do that, right? So as the previous speakers have mentioned, it will require more than the state institutions to address India's challenges with water. I will focus on the positives. The negatives are pretty well known, and many speakers have already spoken about it. So what you see here is a well being cleaned by a traditional well digging community. Those three photographs on the top show you the kind of mess we had made in the past, dumping garbage and all sorts of stuff into a beautiful old well. That's been cleaned up by the traditional well digging community, and the bottom picture shows the community enjoying the fruits of the work that they have done. There's clean water available to the community on tap from the well for anybody to take and everybody to take. So this is representative of one intervention that amongst the millions that will be needed for us to solve the problem of water and the challenges of water in India. And that's been pointed out by the previous speakers. We are the land of the Sapta Sindhu, the seven rivers, as was discussed in the Nadi Sutras and the Rig Veda. Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati. These are words that we all utter in some of the prayers that we have. And these beautiful veins and arteries of our nation are what keeps us alive. These are the lifeline of our nations. They're under stress. They're getting clogged. It's up to us as a community and as citizens to rectify the matter and bring it back to shape so that we are a healthy nation. That's the challenge before us. And we're in the midst of a monsoon, which has come early this year in May. The monsoon is everything. Previous speakers have pointed out that it's this rain of June, July, August, September, 4 months, which India needs to harvest, harness, and keep for the rest of the 8 months for us to prosper, for our agriculture to grow, for our drinking water security, and for our industries to be robust and grow at the 7%, 8% growth rate. So the challenge in India is critical, is clear. Keep these 4 months of rain, keep it going for the rest of the 8 months, and store it in our old growth forests, store it in our soil, store it in our aquifers, store it in our surface water bodies, wetlands, rivers, and lakes. That's where it is. So let me also now start to explain and do storytelling. Come to the urban area of Devanahalli near Bangalore. Devanahalli is where the international airport is located. It's just about 5 kilometers from the international airport. It's a small town of 45,000 people. Devanahalli's water supply is dependent on 110 deep bore wells. The bore wells have gone to a depth of 1,200 feet to 1,400 feet. It's expensive water because the pumps that are to be used are 20 HP, 25 horsepower, and it's saline water because the salinity is about 1,900 TDS, as we call it, extremely saline water. So the town people depend on RO plants for their drinking and cooking water requirements, and for the rest of the non-potable water, they depend on these very saline water. So what do you do about it? Devanahalli also has an old fort, as you can see in the bottom red, 5004, an old fort, and just north of it, the blue one, is something called Sihinir Kere or Sweetwater Lake. I'll see the gentleman farmer washing his feet. Behind him is the lake, which was absolutely bone dry for 17 years. This was the state of the lake next to Devanahalli Fort. So the local town municipal council, with the help of an NGO, started to desilt and clean up the lake and link it to the catchment. Next to the lake was also old open well, beautiful 100-year-old structure, but full of garbage and bone dry. And the municipality was considering closing it, but they stopped. We were able to work with them, and you can see the well digging community cleaning up that old well. And behind is the lake. You would see it as a playground, but that's actually a lake. This is what Senior Kerry looks like right now if you were to go there. It's full of rainwater, and more importantly, as was being mentioned about Singapore and other places, this is also filled with treated wastewater. Treated wastewater from the city of Bangalore and rainwater together fill the lake. The lake is full 365 days a year, 366 every leap year. The well, remember the well which was being cleaned up? These are the well diggers cleaning up the well. This is how the well looks like right now because the lake is full. It's recharged the aquifer. And as Dr. Rana was mentioning, we've done geophysical studies to understand the shallow, unconfined aquifer. We find that its storativity is 25 times that of surface water bodies. And the shallow aquifer has been refilled by the lake because it's a percolation pond, and the well has crystal clear water. So what do you do then? You set up a state-of-the-art water treatment plant, which includes a 130-micron filter, activated carbon filters, UV sterilization, and chlorination, and you supply Devanali town with domestic water, which is sweet water, low carbon water, low energy water, which is treated wastewater turned into domestic water. We talk about Singapore and Israel, but actually it's being done in Devanali for the last 3 years. And the best part is the water costs 1 rupee 54 paisa for 1,000 liters. For 1,000 liters, whereas poor people were paying 5 rupees for 20 liters in the RO plant. Now they pay 1 rupee 54 paisa for 1,000 liters. This is a small scale pilot. We have now expanded to 1 million liters per day. And hopefully, with the help of the state, we will take it to 4 million liters per day so that the entire Devanali town will have 24/7 water supply, good clean water. What does it show? It shows that if the town focuses on its local water bodies, the lake, if it harvests rainwater and collects rainwater, if it reuses treated wastewater, and if it uses the shallow aquifer, that is groundwater, then it can become self-sustainable for water supply. And it can also become water positive in the sense that the carbon emission and the energy requirement will be less. So therefore, we come to what we call the Dublin Principles, elucidated in 1992. So this gives us the broad framework for us to approach water, even in our urban areas. It says fresh water is a finite and vulnerable resource. Therefore, we need to protect it. Water development and management should be done in a participatory manner with planners, community all together. Women play a central role in the provision, management, and safety of water. So therefore, women should be central to water planning and water maintenance, water management. And water has an economic value. It's a human right, but it's an economic value. So therefore, it should be made universal to all, but it should also capture the economic value so that people conserve it and don't waste it. So you pay the true price for water. And when you pay the true price for water, you return it back to nature in the same quantity and quality at which you appropriated it. So therefore, when you pay the true price for water and invest correctly, there is no pollution. And there's water availability for everybody. So this is something that we need to aim for in our cities as we grow as an economy. So what do? We work with the traditional well-digging community. And when I say we, here this is Biome Trust, of which I'm a member. We've identified many such beautiful old open wells which had gone into a state of disrepair. The well-digging community comes with the help of the municipality and with the help of CSR funding. We clean up these wells, remove all the accumulated garbage. We beautify them so that the community takes pride in it, and then the community uses it. And then we listen to women. In this particular case, the women said, don't put a pump. If you put a pump in the well, we will overuse the water. It will go to apartments, and soon the well will go dry. But if we go to the well and draw water with the bindige, as we call it in Kannada, we will only take 4 pots every day, 4 bindiges a day. And so 75 families will have water security because the well will not go dry. And in 2023, we saw that there was a huge year of drought in Bangalore where there was a crisis, but this well had water at 10 feet throughout the year. So wisdom of people, demand management, living within ecological resource availability, but working with the science of water quality, making sure that the water is potable and making sure we understand aquifers to recharge it so that these women have water is central to what we will need to design for our urban areas. Apart from pipe water network, we'll also have to look at community assets and community water sources and make sure that they're available to the people and, importantly, listen to women. So what are the goals for water supply? Universal coverage. This is the first goal. Some water for all, not all water for some. Make sure that every household is connected to the pipe network or has access to a community asset or has access to a private asset so that their water security is assured. Do not focus so much on the resource itself. Focus on the distribution. Make sure that equity is at the heart of your decision making in terms of water supply. This is very well elucidated in the service level benchmarks which the government of India has, which has been developed with the help of the World Bank. I won't go too much into details, but what it says is coverage of water supply connections 100%, continuity of water supply 24/7. This is the goal that we should aim for in our cities. And obviously, efficiency in collection of water supply charges is 90%. There is also coverage of wastewater services. That should also be 100%. Every household should have connection to a sewerage network. That sewage should be collected, conveyed, and treated appropriately before releasing to the environment. This is the goal we have. We often forget that solid waste management coverage is also critical to water supply, especially our lakes and stormwater drains. If solid waste is collected correctly, then they will not accumulate in our drains and in our lakes, and therefore will protect our water from non-point sources of pollution. So solid waste management is crucial. Finally, in the era of climate change and flooding, stormwater drainage network should be 100% from the roadside drain to the major Rajakalve or stormwater drain to the lake, so that all rainwater which is not harvested is safely disposed of from the cities, fills our lakes, fills our rivers, and is taken off. So this is critical for our cities and towns. This is what the government of India's approach is, and this is what our approach should be to help make these investments so that we get there. It will take some time, but the goal is clear, right? The city also will have to place itself in the river basin. Bangalore, the city that I come from, is part of the Kaveri River Basin. We get all our pipe water network, pipe water supply from the Kaveri Basin. So the city will have to make sure that the old growth forests of the Kaveri in the Western Ghats are also protected. Because if they are protected, the Kaveri River will flow clean with water quantity and quality, and therefore we will have water security. So the city should not only think about itself, it should think about the river basin that it occupies, and it should engage in conversations with the old growth forest and the upstream catchment to make sure that those are protected. These are the future conversations cities should have. Local waters are also key. As much as the river basin is key, local water is rainwater, groundwater, surface water, treated wastewater, and the fifth most important one, tap management, demand management, so that we don't overuse water, but we control use. If we have these all taps into play, then we are more towards the path of sustainability and equity. As has been pointed out, this is a beautiful photograph by the great photographer Raghu Rai of Agrasen Ki Bawdi in Delhi. Notice the level of the water, and this is somewhere around circa 72 or 78, perhaps. This is what Agrasen Ki Bawdi looks like now. Now, though we have preserved the stepwell architecture, the skeleton is there, but the soul has gone. When we revisit the soul, what we need to do is we have to bring back the groundwater too. And that is the critical determinant for us as a society. How do we bring back groundwater levels, which have been overexploited for the last 40, 50 years? And here comes the community of traditional well diggers called the Manvaddars, who are part of Bangalore. They have been digging wells for 1,000 years. Their families know where the wells are in Bangalore city. So they'll tell us Malleshwaram, Rajaji Nagar, Jayanagar, oh, this is the Bavi, this has sweet water, this has salt water, this needs to be desilted. So can we engage traditional knowledge with modern geophysics, as Dr. Rana was pointing out? Can we bring these two together, understand aquifers, understand how they behave, understand recharge zones, and bring this traditional knowledge so that through livelihoods, we do more recharge and we clean up more wells that are there with us. And so what we have done in Bangalore is created jobs for 750 to 1,000 well diggers who now not only clean old wells, but also recharge them with the knowledge that they have, but also modern scientific knowledge. And then they have done about 300,000 such wells. We also need a big amount of reimagination of what we do. One of the big challenges for us is sewage or wastewater in our cities. And I'll tell you a quick story of another town called Vijaypura, which is very close to Bangalore. Devanhalli is the town that I talked about 10 kilometers from Devanhalli is the town of Vijaypura, 45,000 population. Again, here's Muniraju and his family working on the farm. Here's what Muniraju did. He had a bore well, 900 feet deep, went dry. He therefore didn't have any water for his 6-acre farm. He had to work in other fields as labor to make money and to keep his family going. But then he saw that wastewater was flowing next to his house, next to his farm, and he tapped into that wastewater, domestic sewage, as you can see here. He started to allow it to settle and sink, pumped the water, and started to grow a crop. Some of you would have guessed what the crop is. This is the crop. This is furrow irrigation using domestic sewage. It's growing lush green. The fields are green around Vijaypura. Muniraju has converted sewage into a resource and he grows a crop called mulberry. Mulberry is a non-edible crop, so therefore consumers are not at risk from sewage contamination, if at all. that mulberry leaves go to fill the silkworm, right? So it protects his livelihood. It protects the community from any crop contamination or food contamination, non-edible crops. It provides livelihood to the silkworm rearers. The silk cocoons are then formed out of this mulberry, and silk cocoons are spun into yarn, and they become the famous Mysore silk or the Vijaypura silk. There's the saraj, and its sewage has been converted to silk thanks to the ingenuity of Muniraju and farmer, right? Now, till the town of Vijaypura gets a sewerage network and sewage treatment plant, can we make sure that this process is safe? That it does not contaminate the environment and it does not harm the health. So how do you do that? You come out with something called the Sanitation Safety Plan of the World Health Organization, which is a risk-based approach, which says how should you go about managing sewage or wastewater till you get the sewerage network infrastructure. Right? How do you do it? By de-risking it. One of the de-risking is to grow non-edible crops. The other de-risking, apply only enough so that it doesn't percolate into the groundwater. Then stop applying it when the crop has to be harvested. Make sure that you grow crops which are distanced from the ground. Make sure that you wash your feet and hands after every farm visit, and so on and so forth, right? Simple steps. This is what we will need to do till we invest in our infrastructure, and these solutions are coming. The next set of solutions are more formal. This is the city of Bangalore, which has now 186 lakes, and I'll pick one lake, the lake of Jakkur. Jakkur Lake has a beautiful wastewater treatment plant on the upstream side of the lake. You see these circular things below the brown patch. That's a wastewater treatment plant, a 15 MLD wastewater treatment plant. There it is, 15 MLD sewage treatment plant. The sewage treatment plant itself has a lot of sludge in it. The sludge has been tested for heavy metals and contaminants. There's none. So it's being taken by farmers as soil conditioners. So sewage treatment plants can be fertilizer factories, right? The treated wastewater is of such a high quality in Jakkur, it goes through ultrafiltration or membrane-based filtration. You can actually drink it. That's the standard that it meets, BIS 10500. But let's, for the moment, not drink it. Let's leave it into the wetlands of Jakkur Lake. The wetlands become the polishers. They have beautiful weaver bird nests and biodiversity, and they do the cleaning up of the further water and some untreated sewage which comes in. Then when it passes through the wetlands, it fills the lake. The lake is always full, and 50 hectares of water body is always full thanks to rainwater and treated wastewater. The lake then provides livelihoods for fishers. They grow fish, and I see Shrestha already lunchtime and fish getting excited about it. But it provides nutrients for the city, but also livelihoods for the fishers there, right? So, and this is beautifully done. And when the lake is full of fish, the birds come. Rohu, Katla, Mrigal, and Jalebi bring the pelicans and the painted storks who love to eat these fish, and so therefore biodiversity is enhanced. So, and not only is biodiversity enhanced, the lake then recharges the aquifer and groundwater is full for reuse again. So if you revive a lake, if you have a wastewater treatment plant, you can provide livelihoods, you can provide food for the city, as well as revive the water cycle there. So this is what we need to do with all our lakes in urban areas, reimagine them and revive them. So what does Bangalore now think of? It thinks of its 61 wastewater treatment plants as fertilizer and water factories. They treat the water and they pump it into the neighboring districts to fill about 1,000 lakes. Currently, about 400 lakes are being filled. And this is how the lakes around Bangalore up to 120 kilometers in Kolar look like. They're all full of treated wastewater and rainwater when it rains, right? Kolar and Chikballapur. Then this water needs to be constantly monitored so that it is treated adequately, and it has to be prevented from local pollution. And that's a challenge, and that's being addressed by the state and by the cities and towns. But what it does now is that it fills the aquifers and provides farmers with water security. So 64,000 farmers have water security from which they can grow crops. The water quality is tested. They can grow edible crops. The farmers have water security. In turn, the city has food security. So you're completing the circular economy by taking water from the Kaveri, allowing it to stop in Bangalore for 24 hours, treating it in wastewater treatment plants, sending it to the lakes of Kolar, Chikballapur, allowing it into the aquifer, allowing farmers to access it, grow food, get a livelihood, and the city gets food security. So this is the kind of approach that we need to take, treat the water as the commons. And Elinor Ostrom, the Nobel Prize winning economist, put together a list of 13 to-dos for us to manage water better. They said, think about institutions. Post-social change is problem solving. Don't just keep on highlighting the problem. Look at it, how you can solve it. Embrace diversity. Every city, every lake, every groundwater will be different, but be specific to that particular lake. Listen to people, listen to women. Self-government is possible if you're designing systems correctly. Everything changes. Prepare for a dynamic world. Map power. Use power and the use power of the institutions to do things well. Collective ownership can work. Human beings are part of nature too. Design not only for human beings, design for livelihoods, design for nature, and therefore you're better off. All institutions are constructed, we can be constructed differently. So institutions we built in the 20th century, we need to modify them in the 21st century. There are no panaceas. We will always have problems. We need to keep on addressing the problem. But complexity does not mean chaos, right? It's a complex world now, but we need to address it, simplify it, and do the great, correct scientific knowledge and technical knowledge for us to go together. Because, as the famous ecologist Dr. Jane Goodall puts it, only if we understand can we care, only if we care will we help, only if we help we shall be saved. And that water literacy journey has to begin with our youngsters, because this is the only blue planet and the only reason we have life on it is because of water. And so it's all a collective responsibility, what we call Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. And it starts with us, me as an individual, it starts with us as a community, it starts with government at the city level, and it starts at the state and the nation level. Everywhere we're all interconnected and we should all proceed in this journey. Thank you for your time, because the only thing we learn from history is perhaps that we do not learn from history. And that's a famous philosopher. That should not occur. We should learn from history and modify history so that we create the future that we need. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Very wonderfully said. In fact, you covered the aspect of water treatment and using and developing a livelihood around it. It was really nice to hear you. And it really opened our eyes when it comes to water conservation, what needs to be done. And it's very noteworthy when we talk of water, some water for all and not all water for some. So this really was a very enlightening, talk by you, and I'm sure all the viewers have been benefited. And along with that, I'm thankful to all the speakers, all the chief guests and speakers, the keynote speakers. They have thrown a light and set the tone for today's summit, and we are on the right track when it comes to water conservation. We are heading for a short break, and we will resume at 11:30 and with a panel discussion, which will be on present and future sustainable practices in the area of water management. So we thank you for being here, and we again resume at 11:30. And